No.
How long were you lying there?
What? It was comfy.
Do you just wear that mask even when you're sleeping?
Whatever, man. When you admit that you need my idea...
Look, I don't need your mask. I don't need your idea. I already know what I'm doing.
You know where to find me.
First, I'd like to start off and say that yes, my last video for this movie review segment did get copyright striked. Nothing too major, just loss of monetization rights to Hasbro, which makes sense. It's their movie, even though I got the clips by jankily recording my computer screen with a camera. So since first that didn't come out as well as I had hoped, because it's recording a computer screen with a camera, and the whole copyright issue and my video getting banned for like a day or two or whatever it was, I've decided for the movie reviews going forward, I'm going to focus more on a podcast style of review, where I do my review as I did for the last film, but instead of having images overlaid, I'm going to have a still image that I designed for the movie I'm reviewing. Since today's movie is Kiki's Delivery Service, I decided to draw up a picture of Kiki flying on a broom and me flying up to meet her. So, on with the review. My history with this film is very interesting. Up until I watched the film again, I had not seen anything of this film in at least 15 years, maybe even longer. I don't know how old I was the last time I saw this film, but I'm pretty sure it was on VHS, and we had rented it from the movie store around us. It wasn't Blockbuster, it was one of the other local VHS rental places. I'm 90% sure on that, but I could just be mixing up my memories with someone else's. Either way, it has been a long time since I've seen this film, and I've remembered very little of it. Just trying to pull upon that knowledge without seeing the film. And it was that there was a young girl, obviously. She had a cat. I remembered that there was a train sequence where she flies by a train, and I was just okay, so there's a train, she can fly, so she's on a broom, she's a witch, she has a cat, and she's a girl. I'm glad I watched it again before trying to write a review about it, because if that was all we had to go on, my god, this would have been a 30-second, I thought it was a good film, go. So right away, the animation is fantastic. It's just so well done. As an artist and just as a person who enjoys movies, it's just everything about the animation is just phenomenal. So almost immediately, we see Kiki lying on a hill listening to a little red radio. And as soon as I saw this little red radio, I remembered it. I was just not even before I saw it. Seconds before it came on, I was wait, she's gonna have a red radio. There it is! It's right there! Why do I remember that? Why couldn't I remember that a minute ago? As soon as I saw it, I could remember it. The whole movie is just filled with little memories like that, of snippets from my childhood, of things I couldn't actually remember. But it's as soon as you see it, you're how did I... Of course I remember that. That's the thing I remembered the most. Did I get, Men in Black flashed, just forgot all my past? So, the cat talks. I mean, it sounds obvious. I honestly could not have told you that the cat talks. Makes sense thinking about it, and even before I watched the film, I was I think the cat's gonna talk. But then it actually did, and I was I don't remember you talking. I remember you existing. I don't remember you talking, but I'm glad you do. The voice they got for the cat, just in terms of tone and personality, is just so much a cat. It's just this cat is sarcastic. It's I just want to lie around in the sun. Why are you making me fly into the rainstorm? What are you doing? I don't want to meet all those people. Come on, just let's stay up here. So another aspect that I didn't remember was that she spent so much time with her parents in the beginning. Honestly, I couldn't have told you before I rewatched the film why she was on her own at such a young age doing the things she was doing. I couldn't have told you. I was Yeah, she has a delivery service. Well, shouldn't her, like, she's young. Shouldn't her parents do that? Are her parents dead? I don't remember. But now that I've rewatched the film, the first, 15 minutes is just her, interacting with her parents and her family and her town, and just before she goes off on her own. And I couldn't have told you that even existed. I was just like, wow, this is really good. I'm really glad that this is in the movie. It makes so much sense. It answers so many questions. So far in the film, again, we're only a couple of minutes in. It's just such a really charming and heartwarming adventure already. And it's the adventure hasn't even begun. And I'm already filled with warm, fuzzy feelings and memories flooding back. And I'm like, why do I remember this? Why don't I remember that? What happened to my life? I guess magic is just commonplace here. I mean, she flies over lots of different locations, but and yeah, people are reacting whoa, that girl can fly, but it's less of a, holy crap, she can fly, and more of a, oh wow, we haven't had a witch here in a while. And it's just okay, no one seems to care that there's just people flying all over the place. So, as I alluded to in the beginning of this, of the things I could remember before watching the movie, the train scene. This scene, apparently, was just so memorable to me as a kid. I don't know what it was. It was the rainstorm, the landing in the hay, the cow licking her foot and freaking her out. I don't know what about that scene was so memorable to me that it could transcend time, where everything else was faded to obscurity about this film except for this train scene. And this is only a 2-minute, 3-minute scene, and it just boom. That's the movie to me. It's just, as a kid, I was just that scene about the train, perfect. I couldn't have told you how or why she was near this train or on this train. I just remembered that she got there somehow and that this train was important. So the kids in this film are very well written because they act like kids. Yes, there are some cliches there and whatnot. It's the boy likes girl is from not a towner, so she's embarrassed and whatever. But it's one of those things that's they interact off each other like you would expect kids and young adults to do. As the name of the film is, Kiki's Delivery Service, the way they set up her coming to this decision of, I want to do a delivery service, is very ingenious as well. The writing of the characters, the writing of her story is very ingenious as well. Because she doesn't really know what she wants to do now that she's made it to the big city, and it's one of those, well, I guess I could just poke around and see what I'm good at, but then, at a, random chance, someone needs something delivered, just down the street, someone had forgotten their baby's pacifier in the store. So Kiki, not even thinking of, oh, this could be my job, is just kind of oh, I'll deliver it for you. I can just fly right over there and be back in 2 minutes. It's no big deal. It's actually the store owner, the bakery that the lady had left her pacifier in. She actually was the one who's hey, you're really good at this. Why don't you just, think of doing a delivery business? So the baker lady who gives Kiki the idea to be the delivery girl also decides to be kind and lend her a attic room, as long as she helps out in the bakery as well as doing her delivery work. Asono, who is the baker along with her husband, are pretty much the best characters in the movie besides Kiki and the love interest Tombo. Between the two of them, they just have really great interactions with Kiki and Geki, the cat. I don't remember the cat's name. It's Geeky. It's spelled with J's, I think. GG, maybe? No, that's old man. I don't know. The interactions they have with the characters is just so sweet and genuine. You're just yes, I believe these two actually have a bakery and are nice people. That's how real and believable they are. So, speaking of Tombo, who is the romantic interest, he is a city boy, and she is a country girl. It's that classic Hallmark movie channel we're from two different worlds, but I really want to get to know you, but you don't know what next steps to take. Don't worry, my love. I will find a way to break down these barriers. And it's just like, this could have been so cliche and so over the top. And the way they handled it, like everything else, is just so well done and well written. Yes, he's trying, like, anything and everything under the sun to just, like, try to get her to, like, go out with him and, like, hang out and just learn more about her. And she's embarrassed and therefore, like, starts, like, having her, like, embarrassing feelings displayed as anger of, like, no, I don't want to see you. You're weird. No, stop. But it's like, again, because they're written like real kids and they're written like people who could be in these situations, you can just feel the chemistry. And you, like, as the movie went on and everything that happened, I'm sitting there like, I want this to work out. So besides the pacifier, the first actual delivery that Kiki planned and did, I remember bits and pieces of it. Like, I couldn't have told you specifics, but, like, if you had started a conversation, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I remember what you're talking about now. The pieces I could remember were essentially there was a stuffed cat in a bird cage, and that she lost the stuffed cat and had to have her real cat pose as the stuffed cat until she could get the stuffed cat back. But I couldn't have told you how or why. To fill in any of those missing gaps of my flawless story, essentially, Kiki lost the doll because she was attacked by a bunch of birds. They couldn't get the doll back because the birds were preventing her from getting close to where it landed. So she had to basically use her real cat to pretend to be the disguised cat until she could acquire the doll to switch them back out. So also in this scene, we are introduced to another character that I didn't even remember existed. That happens a lot in this movie. And that is an older artist girl who lives out in the woods who had actually found the stuffed cat and was basically, Kiki had to exchange hard labor to get the cat back. So essentially, one of the other reasons that Kiki has to do manual labor to retrieve a doll that is already hers, because she's delivering it, is because when the crows picked it up to bring it to the artist chick, they had, like, basically bit it in such a way that the head was falling off and the stuffing was coming out. And that was very reminiscent to a toy that I still have from my childhood, a little black cat toy whose head also had fallen off and had to get sewn back on. And I don't know, it just brought up a lot of nostalgic feelings. My little stuffed guy, Ike. He's pretty cool. He's really old, but I love him. Right after the first delivery, Kiki returns home and to find that the baker and her husband have made, like, a little Kiki's delivery service, like, logo on the window. And just the whole scene is the best because there's no dialogue. You see it from, like, the outside as if you were, like, looking through the shop window. From their facial expressions and, like, the little, like movements, you can just feel the emotion radiating off that scene, and it is so well done. So on one of her other deliveries, Kiki arrives to deliver a package, or she was picking up the package to then be delivered, but when she gets there, it isn't, like, ready yet. And it turns out because the person who was making a dish to serve at her granddaughter's birthday party, her, like, electric oven wasn't working. So Kiki, not wanting to accept money for a job she didn't do, decides to help out and, like, gets the firewood together, gets the traditional oven ready to go, and they're, like, getting the pile baked, and it's such a sweet scene. I love it. It's great. However, the dish is done, she's flying off, trying to get there on time. It starts raining, and she's, like, trying super hard to get there. She gets there, granddaughter comes out and is like, I told Grandma not to make me this. I hate this. Really? That's all you have to say about everything? But it's like, the other girl didn't know what had been done to make this. All the things that Kiki and the grandma had to do to get this all together. So it's like, she just doesn't understand why she's saying is so hurtful to Kiki, and just the idea behind it is just so hurtful. And, the other thing that made that scene worse is that because Kiki was flying around in the rain, she gets, sick. That emotional distress, weighs on her, and she starts to, lose her powers because of it, and, it just all spirals downhill because of all this tremendous, pressure of, even when you do everything 100% right, you can still fail. And it's just, as a kid, even as an adult, that is just mentally draining, and you just feel completely helpless, like you're thrown out to the sharks with your arms and legs chopped off. But the next scene, before she loses her powers due to her emotional imbalance, she goes to Tombo's house because the baker had basically set up a delivery that she would bring her to Tombo's house. And while she's there, Tombo shows her a bicycle that he's converting to be a flying machine. Basically, he's put a big propeller on the front, and he plans to put wings on it, and he's like, you inspired me and a bunch of other people to be creative and do all these things. So Kiki starts to feel a little better, and then Tombo's friends show up, and turns out one of his friends is the granddaughter who was so ungrateful just a couple days prior. And it's just that again, that's just kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back, and that's what completely she's just I don't know who I am anymore. I'm in this new town, and the person who I thought I was going to be really good friends with turns out to be friends with this person who's really mean, and that kind of breaks her. So then she her witch's powers go in flux, and she can't really call upon them anymore. And that's a huge part of the movie, which again, I couldn't have told you if I hadn't rewatched the film, because I completely forgot that she lost her powers. I'm sitting there oh my god, you're right. And while she's powerless and struggling to figure out who she is and where she's going to go now, since she can't be a witch if she doesn't have any powers, the artist chick pops back up into the film and decides to help her out and, hang out with her. And you can feel for both characters, and you know that Kiki isn't actually powerless, it's just that she feels powerless, and therefore she can't call upon the same power because the source that she was originally drawing from has been shattered and needs to be rebuilt. On that same note, the conversation where the artist chick is essentially explaining that to Kiki of you're not powerless, you have to find your new outlet kind of thing. And she's describing how it's some days she wakes up and can't paint anything, even though the day before she had painted basically a masterpiece. And as an artist myself, that hits really close to home. It's just man, I can totally relate to that. Some days I sit down and I draw an image out, and I'm just wow, I'm really feeling it today. Art's great. And then literally the next day I'll be oh, I know, I'll draw my dog. I can't even draw a circle right now. Yesterday I drew the Mona Lisa. Come on. So after the scenes with the artist chick, Kiki gets a notice of, hey, you might want to deliver something. And even though Kiki is still not able to fly and has lost her magic abilities, she decides that I can't just sit in here and wait for my magic to come back for me. That's not who I am. I need to at least make an effort. So she goes, and turns out that the thing she has to deliver would have been to herself. And it was the nice old lady from earlier who had baked the pie for her ungrateful granddaughter and had baked a cake for Kiki. And that scene, all I gotta say is that just melts my heart. I was just the whole scene was just oh, I can't. It's too nice. It's too sweet. In the climax of the film, Kiki does regain her power in an effort to save Tombo from falling to his death because of a zeppelin. And that, the whole scene is really great and everything. But for me, it's more important of the why she suddenly is regaining her power. It's not because Tombo is in trouble and that she particularly cares about him above everyone else. It's more of she remembers why she did what she did to begin with. And yes, Tombo was the reason, because he's one of her friends, and she definitely cares about him. It represented something bigger than just her and Tombo. So, in conclusion, I loved absolutely every minute of this movie. It was an absolute joy from start to finish. I remembered about half of it, and the parts I did remember were absolutely unimportant to the story. It never felt rushed or too slow. It always kind of had that nice pace that you'd expect in a movie like this, and its message that it was trying to convey was conveyed very well. It's that realistic feel, but not bogged down by the details and the realism, and allowing itself to be imaginative and still a ton of fun. It was happy and charming, but bittersweet. Most of all, it was enjoyable, and it was definitely worth the watch. Thank you all so much for watching the video. If you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And the next video that I will be doing on my channel for movie reviews will be The Last Jedi. I really enjoyed the film, but somebody I know really did not. So stay tuned for that. That's weird. No call this time. I wonder where he is. Oh well, I'm sure he's doing something important. Take care.
What the? Ah, crap, he's gone again. Man, I should have got his new phone number when I was here. Crap. Oh well. Eventually he'll come back and do my idea. Until then, we just gotta kick back and relax. Any day now.